Hello, and welcome to the Basic to Bold podcast. I'm your host, Jen Bjarnson. Over the years, as my life progressed, I really found that there was a time in my life that I started to lose my sparkle, my shine. I didn't know what I needed. And I know I'm not the only person to have that happen. And I know I'm not the only person to go through that. But what I find really interesting is I'm seeing it more and more of women talking about it, which I think is great. But it's actually led me to this conversation in my own head and with other people of, I think it's amazing that we talk about getting our pink back or getting our sparkle back or, having this on a journey to find yourself again. I think those are amazing. But what I would like to talk about is how do we not lose it in the first place? Because I think it's really easy to talk about something and getting it back. But if we don't talk about how did we lose it in the first place? What happened in our lives to make it so we needed to find it again? And I think it's great to have the conversation, not only to recognize how we lost our sparkle or how we hid it away, but also if you are an individual who hasn't had that happen to you, how do you make sure it doesn't happen? Your sparkle, your joy, your passion, it's your aliveness. It's also being your authentic self. So we don't usually lose it overnight. Usually something happens to where it really suppresses it. And I noticed in my own life, I would go through a challenge in life, whether it was a wanted challenge or an unwanted challenge. I found that what I did is I thought, okay, well, once we get past this, then I'll reclaim my happiness. I'll figure it out. I'll change it. And the reality is life happens so quickly and there's so many changes at times that it can become so overwhelming to the point where we just feel so lost. And now we start looking for our passion or our sparkle or our joy, not because, it's a good thing, but it's out of necessity. We're so burnt out. We can't continue. We can't keep doing it. So today I want to talk about not only how do we protect ourselves from losing our passion, our sparkle, our joy, and how to rebuild it if you have come to find out that you've lost it. You're like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what brings me happiness. I don't know what brings me joy at all. So the first area I want to talk about is emotional suppression. When we stop expressing our wants, our needs, our likes, this is where it starts to fade. I think it's really easy at times to just say, no, I'm fine, and we'll figure it out later. The problem is, like I said, if you don't figure it out later, we're usually the first ones to push ourselves aside. So I want to start with our common needs. I've talked about this before a lot, actually, because I think it's really important. And I found it so important for my own sanity and figuring things out. But your core needs are variety. We need change. We need to switch it up every now and again. Consistency. Even though we like change, being consistent is really important because now if you're not consistent, there's a lot of chaos. Love and connection. And this is just feeling wanted by somebody, feeling like that you're needed. This is getting that connection with people and that people want you around. Significance. There's a purpose for you being here. There's a reason you're here. And we need to feel important. Otherwise, what's the point? Growth, changing and improving in our lives, and contribution. And that is where we can give to other people. So I don't believe that we lose our sparkle or our shine because we're weak and we just can't handle things. I genuinely believe we lose it because we push ourselves aside and our authentic and our needs and our wants so much that we just kind of hide away and we become overburdened and overwhelmed, and trying to fill our own cup up is just absolutely exhausting. Now, I noticed when I started to try to regain who I was back, it was very helpful to understand the different areas of intelligence or health. And this was helpful because when I was trying to figure out what is it that I needed, what is it that I wanted, I was really trying to build a framework for, okay, how does this not happen again? And so I would try to figure out what it is that I needed. what are we doing? What is the point of everything? And I get that I lost it. I get that I'm trying to find my shine. I get that I'm trying to find my purpose and my passion all over again. But like, what is it that I'm missing? And I would find like one little piece and I would think, okay, that's good. But then I'd find another piece. I'm like, yeah, but that's good too. And what I found is it kind of fits into these 6 areas, these 6 health intelligence areas of our lives that we all have, that we all need. And so I broke them down. So I broke them down into 6 areas. And what I found is you have spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, social, and then financial, or like resources. So what I found is the spiritual, that is your purpose, your passion. Why are you here? What is it that you can only do the way that you do it? And that's a really important thing, because it kind of covers the unmet need of significance. It gives you the need of, it can give you love and connection. It can give you variety. It just depends on what it is, but it's really important, because when you have something that only you can do, it gives you this purpose and this passion in life. And one of the things I like to say is, a lot of people, they think, using life coach as an example, I want to be a life coach, but everybody's a life coach. Maybe. At the same time, your experiences, the way that you're telling your story, the way that you're giving advice, maybe it isn't new. Maybe it's not new information, and other people are saying the exact same thing. However, the way that you say it, the examples that you use, is really different than the way other people are talking about it. The way that you say it, the way that you verbalize it, is really different, and it's only the way that you can explain it. And some people could hear it over and over and over again, but then when you talk about it, they get it. And then all the other times that they've heard it, now it makes sense. It brings it all together for them. And so that's a real gift, that we all got to figure out, what is it that we bring to this world? And now we have more of a reason to be here. Why am I here? Because that's why I'm here. The next one is mental. This is your rules. This is who you are to the core as a person. This is being your true, authentic self. Now, I don't care if you want to use Enneagrams or human design. I personally love Carol Tuttle's energy types. And the reason I love doing this is because if you have no idea who you are as a person, you don't know what makes you happy, you don't know what it is that you need. If you don't know that, using labels to help figure out who you are is very helpful. But if you use too many labels, well, now you're confined in this, I can't do that because I'm a Gemini. That's not true. So one of the things that you've got to figure out is, there's kind of this balance of, okay, I need to know who I am. This is where the labels are helpful. But you don't want to get stuck too much on the labels to where you're like, now I can't do anything. So you want to find the right balance in saying, okay, I know who I am. I know this is what I need, but I would like to expand. I would like to grow. I would like to become bigger and better than what I am right now. And that's the whole point of one of the unmet needs is growth. And when you can learn how to expand on who you already are, that just broadens your skills, that you can grow in your purpose, in your passion, teaching people, educating people, and having more variety in this life. Now this brings me to your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence these are the stories that we tell ourselves. These are the social contracts that we have between ourselves and other people. So as an example for social contracts, in our day and age, it has been historically that women raise the children, they kind of stay home, men tend to go to work. Now, not to go down the rabbit hole of whether that is good or bad. What I'm saying is that's just kind of been the social contract. Everybody kind of has an assumption that the women stay home, take care of the children, men go to work. And you could say that for many different reasons. Again, not good or bad. That's just been the social contract. Now, in the last decade or so, people have been talking about, well, let's switch that up. Is this a good choice? Is this not a good choice? And in some ways, it's causing turmoil. It's causing a disruption in the social contracts because you have people who are men and women who are both women who are saying, I don't want to stay home. I want something different. You have men who are saying, well, maybe I want to stay home. I want something different. You have women saying, no, I want to stay home. I want to be that stay-at-home mom. And then you have men saying, no, I want a stay-at-home mom and I want to go to work. Again, it's not good or bad. It's just that has been the norm. And now, because people are kind of switching the social contract up, it is causing a disruption and it's causing a change. And the great thing about debate and the great thing with conversation is we can now have those conversations. Well, just in our own lives, we have social contracts. So maybe in your social contract in your family, maybe you're the one that just automatically takes care of things. Maybe you're the oldest child and you have all the social contracts for the oldest child. Maybe you're a middle child and you have all the social contracts for a middle child. Maybe you're the baby and you have all the social contracts for the baby. Again, saying these are not good, these are not bad. What we're saying is we have stories, we have beliefs that to our core, we believe them to be a certain way. And until those social contracts are disrupted, until there's somebody that says, hey, wait a minute, just because you're the oldest child doesn't mean you have to do this. I know it feels that way, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. That's just how it's always been done. And until you have somebody disrupting that, a lot of times we just go with it as if that's law. That's how it has to be. And it takes those moments, it takes those conversations, it takes those aha moments to recognize, oh, wait a minute, there are things that I do not want to keep doing. There are thoughts, there are mindsets, there are habits that I no longer want to subscribe to. Now, having those disruptions, they're great because now we can start really evaluating our life. What is working in our life? What is not working in our life? How would we like it different? How would we like to show up now? And they're great conversations. At the same time, when you start disrupting that, it is going to disrupt your life. It's going to disrupt other people's lives because they are used to the habits. They are used to behaving in a certain way. They behave in a certain way. And that's just how it's always been done. Now for the physical, this is how do you want your body, your mental health, your physical health? How do you want to show up in the world? All of these areas, not good, not bad. It's not about weight. It's not about the way that you look. It's the way that you feel. It's the way that you feel towards your body and your health. This gets disrupted if you have a hormonal imbalance. This gets disrupted if there's a lot of chaos happening and you're just internalizing a lot of your emotion. That affects your health. Stress affects your health. The idea that we're just going to keep running and keep going, putting everybody else's needs before ours and it not affect our health, that's unrealistic. Now, social intelligence. This is our relationships. These are the relationship between you and your partner, your spouse. This is relationships between you and your kids or you and your friends. And this can become a really important part because one of the things that happens is when we cannot give anymore, when we cannot do anymore because we're so burnt out and it's just, our light is dim, our sparkle is gone. The idea of taking care of one more person is exhausting and we can't do it. But this is a really important part of a need that we need to have connections with people. The last one is financial intelligence. And this is a really big part. It is actually the lowest, the bottom one, but because we live in a society that takes up so much we run on money, this is a really high need. And so a lot of people put this first because they're thinking, if I had my needs met, now I could fix whatever is going on. I could get my sparkle back if I didn't have to worry about the rent today. So with everything that I've talked about, how does that give us a framework to get our sparkle back or to not lose our sparkle? Here's what we do. The first part is recognizing emotions. Emotions are just signals. They're just messages explaining that something is out of whack. The problem is a lot of time we just keep shoving those emotions down. We just keep shoving them down and down and down and down until we cannot ignore them any longer. But when we're going, when we're doing, when we're moving really, really quickly, it's easy to just shove them down and be like, I don't have time for this. Am I angry? Yes, but I don't have time. I don't have time to be angry. Am I overwhelmed? Yeah, but I don't have time for that right now. Just get going. Just figure it out, and then I will deal with it later. The problem is we really rarely deal with it later. We just keep shoving them down until it's like a toddler and it refuses to be shoved down any longer. So if you can learn this framework, you can stop from losing your joy, your sparkle. This will avoid that. And when you start to notice, oh, I'm slipping back into old patterns, following this framework, following this pattern will help you to reconnect so that you don't have to get as bad as you did before, that you will stop it in its tracks. So from your emotions, you recognize, all right, this is getting me a need. This is getting me some kind of unmet need. If I'm getting frustrated, maybe it's because I'm not feeling as significant. Maybe what is the point of all I'm doing this? I know as moms, so many times I got so frustrated because I would make a meal. Nobody wanted it. Nobody liked it. And so that really takes the joy out of cooking when all people want are like chicken nuggets, pancakes, and like oatmeal. It's like, right? You try to make something nice. You try to make something good. You see it. That looks good to you. And then when everybody's just like, I don't like this. I don't want to eat it. It takes all the joy out of it. So your emotions aren't the problem. Ignoring your emotions are the problem. But I think a lot of times we ignore those emotions because we genuinely don't know what to do with them. We don't know what that means. We know we're frustrated. And so the idea is we either blow up because we're frustrated or angry, or we just shove it down. And if you blow up, what does that really fix? What does that really change? And so if we can notice what our emotions are trying to tell us and start looking at that framework of, okay, I'm frustrated. Am I frustrated because I don't feel seen? Well, why don't I feel, and I don't feel seen because, well, maybe I'm needing a little bit more love and connection. Maybe I feel ignored by my partner. And we can talk to that person. Maybe you feel like you just are overwhelmed, you're overtouched. Okay, maybe you're needing a little bit more consistency in your life. You just need a little bit more consistency. There's too much chaos happening. So you just take yourself away, do whatever makes you feel like consistent. Maybe it's sitting in your room for 10 minutes and giving yourself a break to just calm down, to recognize, okay, this is a moment in life where the chaos is happening. Either I need to do something about the chaos and stop the chaos and figure out how the chaos is happening, or this is a moment in time where it's just chaotic. It's just chaotic. Now, we don't need to shove it down and just ignore it, but either we can take ourselves away from the chaos just to give ourselves a little bit of time, or we can recognize that what's going to fix the chaos. Because just shoving it down and being like, you know what, I'll deal with this later, that doesn't work. You can only shove down so much, and then that's what starts to make our sparkle, our shine go away because we're not dealing with the problem. So these are just some examples. These are not all perfect. These are not all like perfect examples of what they could be, but these are just some examples of ways to look at emotions and how they turn into your frustrations and unmet needs. So if you're feeling irritated, that could be because you don't have enough consistency in your life. If you need more consistency, try getting space. Try recognizing what is causing the chaos. Now, if it's your kids, you can't get rid of your kids. Trust me, I get it. But you can't get rid of your kids, even though they're the ones causing the chaos. But what you can do is you can remove yourself more often. Recognize, all right, this is chaos that is a good chaos, because at some point, I love my children. I do enjoy them. At the same time, I'm not enjoying this. That's okay. You don't have to love absolutely everything about your life all the time. There are many things that we choose to do that in the thick of it, we don't like that. Okay. Like if you start a business, you may love the business that you do, but you may hate marketing. You still have to do marketing, right? It's part of the business. Same with parenthood. There are things in parenthood we absolutely love. And then there are things in parenthood that we're like, I don't like this. And that's okay. You don't have to love everything about parenting. At the same time, what is it that's going to get our needs met so that that thing that we have to do and that we have to live through is manageable and it doesn't destroy our happiness. It doesn't destroy our joy. The emotion of exhaustion. Maybe you need some rest. Now I understand with a brand new baby, that is not a thing, right? You're sleep deprived. What I would say though is it does not have to be a prolonged sleep deprived. Now, I'm not talking about your child has special needs or you have this baby that just will not sleep for the next 5 years. That is an entirely different thing, what I'm talking about. What I'm actually talking about is a lot of times we have a period of time in motherhood that is very normal, right? You're sleep deprived for a period of time. You are on survival mode for a period of time. What a lot of us do, including myself, I did this for many years, is I kept that period of time going way longer than it needed to be. What I should have done is I should have handed things over a lot sooner. There were periods of time where I should have made my kids experience uncomfortableness because it was time that they learned to get out of their comfort zone. But I did not recognize that they were old enough, or I didn't recognize like, oh, okay, I'm putting my wants and needs aside, which in the beginning of parenting is a thing. It is a thing to put your wants and needs aside. You do need to focus on this kid. But what should happen is if your wants and needs over here for your kids, and then your needs are like down on the floor, it should level out as your kid gets older. You should not have an 8-year-old that just relies on you all the time. It should start evening out. And I say that because that is not what I did. I did not know how to do that. I did not know what it's supposed to look like. And so I had everything relied on me. And now I was looking back and I had 4 kids and everything was me and everything was, can you do this? And I need this and I want this cup. When the reality is they should be experiencing stuff. And not just parenting. We do this in so many different things. We do this in our jobs. We do this in our relationships. It's okay for people to rely on us for short periods of time. But at some point, once that person is able to do it themselves, they need to take over their own life. You managing other people's emotions, not a thing. I get it. There are certain times when that is helpful. It's helpful in crisis mode. But what we do is we extend those periods of times way longer than what they need to be. Maybe you're experiencing numbness and that could be that you have just shoved emotions down so much that your wants, your needs, they don't even matter anymore. They matter, but you're so numb that you don't even know how to get them. And so this can be helped with journaling, talking it out. It's uncomfortable, especially at first. It's very uncomfortable. But these are things to start noticing your emotions, getting them out so that you can start getting your purpose, your passion, your sparkle back. Now, one of the things I really want to talk about, and I really want to put a plug in here, is for energy management. Energy management, whether you do breath work, whether you do energy healing, whether you do meditation or mantras, this is just as important as your diets and your exercise. I found that when I focused on my health, it was helpful. When I focused on exercising, it was helpful. But when I started doing energy management, which is hypnotherapy, energy work, this is when my mental started to shift. This is when all of those stories that I started to tell myself, those contracts that were just law, that they had to look a certain way, this is when everything started shifting. And not only did everything start to shift, but I was able to start seeing the things that brought me joy, seeing the things that brought my sparkle back. Now, one of the things I really love to do is every day I have a quick little check-in. Sometimes I do this in the morning, but I always definitely do this at nighttime. So one thing I like to do every day is I like to have a quick little 5 to 10 minute check-in. And what I notice is I say, okay, what were the emotions happening today? Like, how did today go in general? And what happens is I find, oh, I was really frustrated at this specific time. Then is what I do is I start to notice, okay, why do I think that happened? So I think I was really frustrated because I wasn't feeling heard. I wasn't feeling seen. That made me feel insignificant. And then I come up with a game plan as to how I'm going to rectify it or what I want it to look like. If you are a listener of mine, I just did a podcast recently talking about the energy management 5 steps that I use. It's not woo-woo. It's not this whole thing. It's just a basic framework as to how I start managing my energy and making sure on a daily basis, just like taking my vitamins, just like working out, it helps me manage those, get rid of what I'm not using and what's not helpful, and to reinstate what does bring my sparkle back, what does keep me shining, and what does keep my passion and joys aligned with who I am. Other helpful habits are definitely getting to bed on time, which certain stages of life, this is just not possible. But like I said, getting back to those stages as quickly as possible. Recognizing that, yes, we have certain stages in life that are going to mess up our systems. They are going to mess up the consistency that we have. And that's okay. Some of those are absolute challenges that we want. If we're trying new things and we want new things in our life, that's great. Other times, it's just life. And it's a sucky situation. Nobody wants this, but it's just a part of life. And having those systems in place that, okay, we may have wanted this or we may not want this. That's okay. This is a crappy situation. Now we need to get back to balance as quickly as possible. Knowing those 6 areas, purpose and passion, knowing who you are as an individual by whether you know your energy type, your Enneagram, recognizing the stories or the social contracts that you have and working through those, whether that's with meditation, whether that's with shadow work, whether that's with hypnotherapy, having a good plan for your physical intelligence, having a good plan for your financial, having a good plan for connecting with other people in your social circles, having all of these together, getting back to the balance of what it is that keeps you this whole functioning person is what is not only going to get you back to your sparkle, but not make you lose it in the first place. In certain situations that are stressful, that are not normal, whether they're wanted or unwanted, yes, they're going to knock you off balance. And that's sustainable for a short period of time. But if you have a roadmap of what it is that we're trying to get back to, now you can get back to that much quicker. If you're looking for an affirmation or a mantra, here is a great one. My sparkle is not lost. It is waiting for me to listen, to honor my needs, and to choose myself. I am allowed to shine boldly and unapologetically. Thank you so much for listening. And if you can think of anybody that needs this conversation, needs this little nudge in the right direction, definitely share it with them. And until next time, bye.